Hello everyone, my name is Akal and I am a somatic therapist. If you'd like to find out a little bit about the work I do, you can check out my website, which is posted down below this video. So today is the 16th, I believe it's the 16th video where I'm connecting the Vedic lunar mansions or the nakshatras with Kundalini yoga, and specifically Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind. And in this particular case, it's projection 20, or the coach. So this nakshatra is called Vishakha. Vishakha is, it's a really interesting nakshatra, and what it's showing is the step towards spiritualization. So with the previous nakshatra, which was Swati, what was brought to the surface, or what reached its pinnacle, essentially, with Swati was the individuated urge to achieve material prosperity or wealth or growth. Now with Vishakha, this is slightly different because that peak has already been there. So now what we're getting is the transition from Libra into Scorpio. Now Scorpio is this sign that generally is depicted by a phoenix, which is about transformation. It's the bird rising from the ashes. So transformation really is the key word here to keep in mind. Some people go, oh, Scorpio is a scorpion and it's about stinging. That's more of a dispositional thing. The actual symbol of Scorpio is about transformation. So Vishakha is very much represents this energy. Even though it's 3/4 of the sign lies within Libra. So what this is the individual impulse, which is now manifesting in the form of, I guess it's starting to see clearly the difference, or clearly, I guess, how unsatisfying it is to achieve material things, or pleasurable things. Again, I think this is ultimately like many of our life paths, but with certain particular nakshatras, this is a much more pronounced theme, this need for spiritualization. So this particular nakshatra, it can go two ways with this particular nakshatra. It's ruled by two different gods. One of the gods is Agni, which is the god of fire, and the other god is Indra, which is like the lord of the gods. So one of these is generally represented by, I guess, the fire which burns away the dross, or what is not necessary. So these individuals can make a choice. They can make a choice to either move toward Agni or Indra. Indra is luxury and pleasurable things. And it's not to say these people have to choose either or, but there is a tendency to choose either or with this. These people are very courageous, very driven, can be a little bit self-centered, can be extremely self-centered, in fact, because what's evolving here is their inner environment. Where their urge is coming from for this particular sign is the internal environment. It's not necessarily about mastering the external world. I mean, I'll get to this in a moment when I get back to the symbols. So these folks can indeed indulge in pleasurable things, luxuries, etc., but again, there's a dissatisfaction that comes from this, which is why this sign is ruled by two different gods. And again, the god of Agni, this like fire that wants to burn away everything unnecessary. You know, it's burning away everything unnecessary so you can see what truly matters in life. Now the symbol for this, there's two symbols, but I'm only really going to cover one, which is the potter's wheel. The potter's wheel for Vishakha is actually perfect. It describes the Gunas, which are my primary focus with these videos, probably about the most perfect of all the nakshatras I've done so far. This is probably the most perfect descriptor of what we're seeing with the Gunas. So the Gunas, let me go over those real quick. So we got tamasic energy as its base. Now, what do I mean by that is that the drive for keeping things the same, inertia and material focus, is a fundamental, almost impersonal ebb in these people's lives. They may not even recognize this energy is present in their life. Again, it's impersonal, it's deep, it's a foundational principle. And this goes for, you know, the previous almost third of the zodiac going up to this point, is they all have this tamasic energy as its base energy. So the secondary quality here is sattvic, which is about harmony and balance. So what that means is so this foundational principle of inertia and of material things is now being expressed. How do I say this? I guess sattvically is how it's expressed. This balanced energy. Again, this need to be able to see both sides. And again, what sattvic energy is it's, at least on this particular secondary level, it's the neutral mind. The neutral mind has the ability to be clear and to see this or that. And this is, again, another thing that kind of points to these folks having this big decision to make here. The big decision as to choosing a material path or one that deals with spiritualization. And which one of these things are they going to bias themselves towards? So the potter's wheel is actually kind of cool. Again, I'm thinking of a very primitive, basic potter's wheel. The center of the wheel on a potter's wheel is basically it's not moving, or at least moving less so. Then the material around it is moving. So what we're getting here is all the principles that work here. So we have the individual who is molding the clay. Now the clay, again, has to stay moist, and you can mold it as long as it stays moist and malleable and flexible and this and that. And as the wheel is spinning, it's spinning around a fixed point. And that fixed point is that tamasic foundational base energy here. So the energy that's moving around it is the activity or the rajasic energy of which these people are expressing out in the life. And again, this is a very active sign. These people are very driven. They're always doing things. They're busy, busy achieving and doing and whatever it is. Again, it's very courageous and driven, and they can step on people along the way. I think of this as a great sign for some politicians. There's a large rebellious streak in these folks as well, in that they see a great deal of dissatisfaction. I don't really perceive Vishakha as the most happy of nakshatras. It's a great nakshatra for achievement and getting shit done. However, it's not like super joyful and blissful. It's not that nakshatra. So, again, high achievement though. So there's your trade-off. So again, potter's wheel, activity spinning around a central core that is stable, and how it's being molded. Now that's the interesting part. Again, what we're talking about here is neutral mind. We're talking about clarity and harmony. So these folks, what they're attempting to mold in life with all this activity, and again, this is where Agni, the god of fire, comes in here. So Agni, the god of fire, says, okay, you can mold this clay in whatever way you want. You can make a cup, you can make a bowl, you can make a pot, whatever it is you want to make, you can make it. And so the thing is that the individual has to then choose, what am I going to mold? So that's when this drive or this desire urge to turn inward becomes really profound. This energy it's all about sort of turning inward in order to discover what's authentic, so that what's authentic can then be expressed out into life. And again, this is a choice these individuals have to make, is to choose to express themselves in an authentic manner. So, and I guess what is authentic? Authentic is, for me, it means I'm in alignment with flow, spirit, God, whatever the higher concept is here. Like, these folks need to find that concept. Otherwise, they're going to get stuck in a cycle of pissiness and dissatisfaction and, frustration. Again, with all this courage and drive and all this activity, these folks need to slow down. And the exercise I'm going to teach in the latter part of this video, the exercise from Kundalini Yoga it's an exercise that actually helps people slow down. And I'll explain all that when I get there. Now, the need to slow down here is extremely important because we need to be able to see what that primal impulse is. We need to see that bringing, I guess, our mind into alignment with this flow. And this is a very difficult concept that, again, every nakshatra in this series of 27 or so is definitely challenged to find this. However, these folks, it's really pressing. It's very pressing, like I said, because what they can end up creating along the way is a lot of drama, a lot of BS. Some of the words, I'll go ahead and read some of the words that are described here. So, infidelity in marriage, miseries, let's see, what else? Minimizes the contribution of others. Let's see, broken personal promises. So what you're getting here is, I'm kind of getting the vibe of a bit of selfishness. The theme here is the grass is greener on the other side. So Vishakha Nakshatra has a tendency, again, because the primal energy going off these folks is restlessness and dissatisfaction and anxiousness and so what they need to understand and to focus on here, again, is tuning into that sort of spiritual nature within themselves, that sort of deeper ebb, that deeper flow that is leading them and guiding them in life, so that they can then step beyond the frustration. They can then, using their massive intellect, again, this is a sign that's ruled by Jupiter, highly philosophical, very bright, very intelligent, but they have to step beyond the intellect. They have to go into a place of feeling and sensing in order to determine how they're deeper. And again, this is a sign moving into Scorpio, so there's depth here. They have to see how the deeper vibe is leading them. And again, intuition, instincts. Turmoil is a big word. Turmoil, and again, this is so redundant of me. Like, I'm literally going to keep saying the same thing. These folks absolutely must tune into what's authentic within. Turmoil is always around the current corner in terms of their personal relationships and personal dynamics with others. And again, it's that's the thing is that, and this applies to all of us, is that when we're operating inauthentically, we're always going to create chaos in our wake. Some of us have the ability to create great chaos, and others of us, our impact is less so. These folks have the ability to create great chaos. Vishakha is a sign, again, that has a lot of ambition and a lot of drive, and so that means the potential for stepping on a lot of people along the way. I think about a lot of politicians when I think of this particular sign, not naming names, but I've done some politicians' charts, and you definitely see this energy in a somewhat prominent place in these people's charts. So in summary, I want to go ahead and read something from this book, The Light on Life, and it's Robert Svoboda. Yeah, so Robert Svoboda wrote this book, and he kind of summarizes, I think, pretty well, I guess, what I've just pretty much all said. So it says, Lagna or moon, so Lagna is the ascendant. So Lagna or moon in Vishakha often gives profound courage and a capacity to exert Herculean efforts in the direction of a goal, but if obstructions impede achievement of these goals, courage can mutate into frustrated and impatient anger. Vishakha's firm resolve can cause the mind to force the body to perform its ambitious expectations. Inordinate ambition can lead Vishakha to become spread too thin in trying to fulfill too many aspirations, which can result in an egocentric life which has little time for anything but the pursuit of self-interests. Vishakha often represents a lack of innate social involvement, especially friends, and a tendency to use people as a means to an end. Vishakha people are therefore usually well advised to cultivate a greater awareness of the rights of others. So, sound pretty harsh, right? Again, the necessity to have a spiritual path, meditation, yoga, qigong, Christianity, Islam, whatever it is you're into is all good. You just have to be able to connect to something higher. And that's going to allow, those natives who have this as their sun, their moon, or their ascendant to then embrace these energies on a much broader level, and also to not push people away in the process. So with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you now how I've come to these conclusions in terms of how Vishakha is connected to Projection 20 in Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind. All right, here we are. So this is Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind. Sorry about all the glare. And here's the flowchart that's in the back of the book, which was kind of an obsession for me. I really, when I first saw this chart, I was like, oh, there's so much here, because there is. So the universal mind is what this chart is based on, and it's basically showing how the universal mind precipitates out into what we are more familiar with. So as you get more subtly, basically the more subtle the levels here, meaning the universal mind, or at the level of air, ether here with the impersonal minds, what we're getting here is, again, more impersonal. We're not going to notice these ebbs and these flows as clearly. So, and it's not until it starts to precipitate out further, through air, fire, water, and then earth, that you get a greater density. And the greater the density, the more likely it is that the individual, the ego, is going to notice these patterns. So Vishakha begins with tamasic energy. So here we are with tamas. Then you follow the line, because the second segment is neutral. So we have the neutral mind, and it moves to this, what's called the strategist. And then, sorry, the lighting. And then the strategist, after we have tamasic, sattvic, and then finally positive or rajasic energy. And that is 20, the coach. And then what you do then is you go ahead and flip into the book. You find Projection 20, the coach, judging environments. Here's a little blah, blah, blah. And the meditation, which is pretty challenging. And so I will go ahead and teach you this exercise momentarily. All right, so the exercise that goes along with Vishakha Nakshatra. So Yogi Bhajan made the association with this particular nakshatra. I don't know that he intentionally made this association, but he chose this exercise, which is called Projection 20, or the coach. The interesting thing about this exercise, and I've noticed this as a theme throughout all Yogi Bhajan's choices, in terms of which exercise is paired with which gunas, or which particular combination of gunas. What I found most interesting was that the nakshatras which tend to have more restlessness, they tend to have more of a bias towards the exhale. And that's consistent, with a lot of these exercises. Again, anywhere you're seeing anxiousness, restlessness, things of that nature, you're seeing a bias towards the exhale. And the reason for that is that the exhale is it basically triggers the parasympathetic nervous system. So when you exhale completely, what you end up doing is all the musculature in the body pulls in, and this gives the individual, once all that exhaling has happened, a sense of relief. I think about terms like, waiting to exhale, or when somebody says, oh, they had a particular relief in life, it was like an exhale. And again, this is the rest and digest aspect of the nervous system. So it is the de-stress part of the nervous system. So something else about this nakshatra, or not this nakshatra, but this particular exercise, is that all this exhaling, all this getting the air out, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you guys if you guys have seen this before, which is like if you have a dog that has like a anxiety issue, what you do is they have these like little compression harnesses you put around their rib cage, and this compression helps alleviate the anxiety in the animal. So again, this is very, very similar to doing these exercises which have all this exhale involved. So the exhale happening in this particular exercise is not an actual literal exhale. What it is the utilization of a mantra until all the air is gone and out. So how we're going to do this is so first thing, a couple of the details. One, the arm position or the mudra is difficult. What you're going to do is you're going to hook your fingers. So you're going to hook your thumbs together, and you're going to raise them so that they're right at the level of the head. So not super, super high, and certainly not down low. So you want to have that kind of like, think about your crown going out right at the level of the head. So again, here up to about there. So as you're holding this posture, something else is going to happen here. So you're essentially, what you're doing with all these Kundalini yoga exercises, there's always some sort of mudra that locks your hands into a position. And they always, and when I was going through yoga teachers training, and this didn't make a lot of sense to me, they said, lead with your heart. But, I was kind of a shutdown dude when I was like 28 years old, and I didn't know what they were talking about, lead with your heart. I know that could have meant like, follow your intuition or your instincts or your sort of, again, your navigation. But in this particular case, you're leading with your heart by setting the hands and the arms, which are an extension of the heart. You're setting them into a locked position, which then forces the entire body. So if I have my arms up here, my whole body has to shift. And again, I'm shifting over my pelvic floor, my sit bones, perineum, genitals. I'm pushing all that down. And once I feel like a lift up to the point of the ribs, I feel like everything's lifted up to the point of the ribs, then I can anchor the chin down, which will help the chest pick up. And then you're in a position where you're supporting the heart or the arms. So, and that's the goal. You want to get to this position where your arms are supported, your spine is upright, your chin is tucked. Now the instructions say you can close your eyes. What I do when I do this exercise is I keep my eyes kind of squinted. It helps kind of cool me down. A squint is, or squinting, or 9/10 shut or 1/10 open, however you want to perceive it. A squint helps kind of simmer the individual down, kind of cools the mind, so to speak. So the mantra is 6 Satnams and 1 Waheguru. So it's Satnam, 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 Waheguru. You're going to do that 4 times. So basically you're doing 24 Satnams and 4 Wahegurus. And you're going to do it on one breath. So you're going to inhale, deep breath. And as you're exhaling, Satnam, 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 Waheguru, Satnam, 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 Waheguru. You get the point until all the air is out. So again, 4 repetitions of 6 Satnams and Waheguru. Now, I've never really achieved this entirely on one breath, to be honest. So what I end up doing is I won't say I cheat here, but as you're reciting the mantra out loud, what you want to do is you don't want to like lock the air out. You want to allow a little bit of air to come in, because that's naturally going to kind of happen anyway. As you're exhaling, you're reciting the mantra, sometimes a little air slips in. So that's what allows me anyway when I'm doing this mantra. I'm not taking complete inhales in until I've done all 4 repetitions. What I'm doing is I'm just doing the mantra, exhaling, while I'm doing the mantra, and a little bit of air almost always slips in. And the other thing I'll sometimes do is, by the time, let's say, I get 3 recitations of the mantra and I'm completely out of air, usually then the last repetition, I'll mentally recite it. So I'll mentally recite 6 Satnams Waheguru. So let me go ahead and show you what this looks like all together. Oh, one final thing. What I also suggest you do is when you inhale through the third eye point, bring the awareness down below the navel, and then before you start to recite the mantra, you want to pull in your belt line very gently. So just a very gentle pull inward and slightly upward towards your spine. So first thing, lock the hands into position. Allow the spine to shift, stacking the vertebrae. Once you feel like the ribs are lifted, tuck the chin down a little bit towards the chest. So this is basically what it looks like. Eyes are closed or squinted. And you're going to recite this mantra. Satnam, 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 Waheguru. 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 And then inhale. And so that's how you do it. And then sort of to finish this exercise, you inhale, retain the breath. Let's see what it says. It doesn't really say specifically, so I suggest inhaling, retaining the breath for 10 to 20 seconds. Exhale and relax the arms. Now the recommended duration of time for this entire exercise is 11 to 31 minutes. So with all that said, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I thank you for watching.